Hey guys, Piyush here, and today we're going to be talking about WWDC, but more specifically iOS and iPadOS. So let's get started. So WWDC was pretty different this year. We all know Apple couldn't really have held an in-person event, so they had to do it online. Apple took this as an opportunity to show off their video and creativity skills. In my opinion, Apple should just stick to these types. I personally like these a lot more than the previous WWDC or keynotes they used to have. But enough talking about that, let's go on to the software updates. So a pretty evident theme this year at WWDC was design. They really tried to enhance the designs of their different operating systems. And I mean, this is a good thing. Like last year, all we basically got in iOS 13 was a new dark mode and a bunch of performance updates. Now, while those performance updates are necessary, they're not really that exciting. So let's start off with iOS 14. So as I said, iOS 14 is pretty much experience and design orientated. So the first and probably most prominent update to iOS 14 is the new home screen. In this new home screen, you get widgets, which are basically helpful to give you more information than just an app icon. Within the widgets, you can basically choose how much information you want to see by choosing the size of the widget. They also have another feature called Smart Stack. This basically gives you all the apps that you use regularly and puts them into a widget form. Then, based on the time of the day, it'll switch between them to give you the best one for the moment. For example, in the morning, it'll give you the news, during the day, it'll give you a calendar, and then at night, it'll give you information about your activity from the Activity app. There's also a new feature called the App Library. This is basically just organizing your apps for you. With this, you could just swipe all the way to the right screen on your phone, and then you can find the App Library right there. It'll have a list of suggested apps, most recently downloaded apps, and then alphabetically or based on the categories that they're in. In addition, you also get picture-in-picture. Picture-in-picture is very useful because it's kind of like multitasking. You can watch a video or FaceTime with somebody while you're on a different app. And then lastly, yet the most accepted and needed one was the call drop-down notification. This frees up the screen so you can continue what you're doing, it makes it look cleaner, and it can also work with third-party apps such as Skype. Next, moving on to Siri. First of all, they moved the Siri animation to the bottom side of the screen. This basically keeps it from blocking up the entire screen and instead just taking up a small portion at the bottom of the screen. In addition, Siri got even smarter. Now you can ask it up to 20 times more questions than you previously could without it having to go to the internet to look up the answer. And lastly, you can now send audio messages through Siri. Speaking of messages, the Messages app also got a big update. First of all, in iOS 14, you get the option to pin a conversation. This basically keeps it at the top of the app so you can easily access it whenever you need. Now there are more styles and variations that you can choose from, and to match the 2020 style, there's also a mask included. The last major update to the Messages app is the Groups functionality. This basically gives you a lot more options whenever you're in a group chat. For example, there's now inline replies. This is kind of like WhatsApp to where you can specifically reply to a message. In addition, you can now mention people in a group chat. This means that you can basically send a message to somebody so that they know that it's intended for them. Along with that, you can also set it up to where you only get a notification if somebody replies with a mention of your name. And then the last group chat feature is a group photo. Now instead of having multiple bubbles at the top of the screen, you can just select a photo that you want for the entire group. For example, if it's a band that you're talking with, then you can put like a guitar or an instrument as the group photo. The next thing they updated is the Maps app. So the more advanced maps, like the ones available in America, will now be available to more countries. This isn't really a feature, but it's still a very cool thing because it's now increasing the accessibility of the Maps app. In addition, the app will now give you guides on where to go or where to eat. On top of that, they're adding cycling as a way of transportation in the app. This is a really cool feature because a lot of people do use cycles and it's better for the environment. With this new cycling experience, you'll get information like if you have to go uphill, downhill, or how long it'll take, and it'll give you cycling routes for your trip. In addition, Apple's also going into EV routing. This is basically going to allow you to use your electric car and go out without having to worry about, do I have a charging station near me? Then Apple also introduced a new app, the Translate app. This is basically Apple's take on the pre-existing Google Translate app. The app will allow you to converse with people while translating what they're saying in real time. On top of that, it'll allow you to save your favorite translations so you can easily access them later. And the app also has a horizontal mode. This basically allows you to use the app in horizontal rotation and makes the text on the screen bigger and easier to read. Next up, Safari. Safari will now be able to translate web pages for you, kinda like Google Chrome. On top of that, it'll give you a privacy report. This will basically tell you about the data that your favorite websites are using. CarPlay also got some cool new features. First of all, you can change the wallpaper from the black to a different option, like the iOS 14 wallpapers. And then the coolest feature in CarPlay is Car Key. Car Key basically allows you to unlock, start, and lock your car with just the NFC tag in your phone. All you have to do is bring the phone next to the car and then it'll unlock. Then you put the phone in the car and it'll turn on the engine. In addition to this, you can share this key with your family and friends so that they can also drive the car. The key can be shared with people through the Messages app. Now, because not everybody can upgrade to iOS 14 or some people just don't want to, Apple's going to make this feature available in iOS 13 with the future update. And probably a really cool feature of this is that it'll still work after your phone has died. It'll work for up to 5 hours after there's no more charge left in your phone. Now, this new feature will be available to only the BMW M5 for now, but obviously when some more cars come out and some future updates, this will extend its scope to more cars. Now, the App Store didn't get multiple updates, but it did get a major one, App Clips. App Clips is basically where you can use a small version of an app without downloading it. This is really useful if you're out and about and you scan a QR code that takes you to like Yelp or something. Then you can just use that small snippet of the Yelp app without having to download it. Now, the AirPods also got some impressive new features. First of all, you can finally connect them to multiple devices at the same time. For example, if you're on your phone and you're listening to music, and then you go to your MacBook for a FaceTime call, then the AirPods will automatically sense that and they'll switch from the phone to the MacBook. In addition, with iOS 14, you can also get battery notifications of your AirPods. They'll tell you when they're like 20% left or 10% left, so you know when to take them out and put them on charging. On top of this, you can now share audio on an Apple TV. You can connect two AirPods to the same Apple TV 4K. As of what Apple says, I think it's only available on the Apple TV 4K for now. And lastly, and probably my most favorite feature for the AirPods, is spatial audio. This one will only work with the AirPods Pro, but I still think it's really cool. This basically makes the two AirPods in your ear feel like multiple speakers or surround sound system. This is kind of similar to what Dolby Atmos does. In addition, because you move your head around a lot or you move your iPad or iPhone around a lot, this can track the head and the device that you're watching on so that the audio always stays in the perfect orientation. Privacy is also something that they worked on again in iOS 14. For example, they added a feature to where you get a little yellow circle in the top right of the display telling that one of your apps that you're using is using the microphone and or the camera. On top of that, Apple's now requiring developers to tell you the privacy information of their apps. So that's pretty much it for iOS 14. It'll be compatible with every single iPhone that came out since the first generation iPhone SE. On top of that, it'll be also compatible with the 7th generation iPod Touch. So the next OS we're going to be talking about is iPadOS 14. So iPadOS basically has a lot of the same functions as iOS 14, so I won't be repeating those in this section of the video. So first of all, most apps will now get a sidebar, or at least most Apple apps will. This basically gives you access to more things and information on the same display. On top of that, there's new Search UI. This basically makes the bar a lot smaller and on the top side of the screen instead of having to take up the entire screen. This new feature is universal. That means it'll work with all the apps, especially Safari, so you can just search up what you want to look up and it'll automatically take you to Safari if that's an option. This feature is kind of like Spotlight Search in macOS. The Apple Pencil got some new features too. There's a new feature called Scribble. This is basically write text. You can write what you want in a text box and it'll convert it to text for you. In addition, you can convert drawings into shapes. For example, if you draw a loose sketch of a square and then you hold the pencil down, then the app will recognize that you're trying to draw a square and it'll make a perfect square for you. There's also a new feature called data detectors. This will basically understand whenever you write down a phone number or address, and then it'll do the things that you can normally do with text of a phone number or address. For example, if you write down a phone number and you click on it, then it'll give you the option to call that number. There's also another cool little feature called Scribble to Delete. This basically means that you can scribble on a piece of text and it'll delete it for you. Lastly, circle to select. This basically allows you to put a circle around the piece of text and then it'll select it for you. So that's it for this video. Make sure to like, share, and obviously subscribe. Also hit that notification bell to stay updated whenever I post a new video. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at SweetTechPlanet. Thank you for watching and I'll catch you next time.